Speech story, and I was thinking कि अरे ये record नहीं हुआ.
Avinash, which city do you live in?
I live in Varanasi.
Varanasi. Okay. That context,
And my college is in Shantiniketan, West Bengal.
right. Veda, you were about to say something?
Actually, it's kind of similar conversations, I feel. I had a lot of people calling up this week and talking to them. So I think two things that overlapped a lot. I mean, even with amongst the people I was talking to, but this whole long distance friendships and basically now for a lot of people our age, I think, I mean, and otherwise also, I'm sure, all of these friendships being with people who are in different cities or in different countries, and trying to keep, quote unquote, keep in touch, and how difficult and tiring it has become. And basically everybody, when you meet them, they this expression is there ki, yaar, I wanted to call you, I wanted to speak to you, but I just didn't do it. I just didn't have the energy to do it, or prioritize nahi kar paye. Aur fir this particular conversation was happening with several people that it's so difficult to keep in touch and it gets so tiring. But then also playing into what Drishta and I were talking about, that who are the people who we can manage to see, like conversations like these, like the kind we're having, or the kind that Drishta and I were having. I often find that although I can have in some capacity with my friends who are far away, to catch them up on how I got to this particular concern is difficult. Often it seems as if ki tha kuch to hua hoga, say this thought came about. But the feeling that I have very strongly, that I feel like real relationships are difficult to maintain over phone calls and chats and online, because you can't see the other person's life and you can't see their everyday journey. So you're only going off of what they share. You have no reading of it of your own. So I have such close friends who are, I mean, in fact, एक point पे last year, I think all my closest relations, except I think at that time even parents, both my parents, were all either in different cities or and my friends and cousins and everybody said different cities or different countries.
Continue.
So I was getting so, I think the loneliness of it kind of seeps in, because it's not like you're out of touch. You're in touch. You're always in touch with WhatsApp and something or the other, but you just feel very unseen. And when you feel unseen, when I feel unseen particularly, I feel ki, how am I supposed to grow? I don't know how to do this alone. I would like to do it with the people who I'm close with and who can see me and who can give me some perspective on, and then therefore, I mean, who I can relate to, who can relate to me. And it was getting quite difficult. But having moved back to Dehradun, and also I think we do end up meeting a lot of people when we come to Delhi as well, but moving back to Dehradun also really helped kind of meet more people who I already felt a connection to, and there was some regularity. And I mean, Drisha and I, of course, always keep talking about things, but हाँ ये मेरे मन में भी चल रहा था. And I think the people I spoke to, they've also been kind of, so the other conversation that I was saying that has been happening a lot is this difference, this small town versus big town में क्या differences आ जाते हैं. And my personal feeling has been always that, having lived in Dehradun, it was so convenient to actually see people's home lives, people being with their family, and you see your friends in their families. And often I feel that in cities it's somehow gets skipped. Maybe it was my particular experience, but it somehow doesn't end up happening. But yeah, so seeing people's lives is so conducive, is I feel is like a prerequisite for deeper relationships.
Right. Anybody else who wants to respond to this conversation?
I would like to just add that this small town versus big town also has been on my mind this week. And I've been just wondering, things have progressed. I shouldn't say progressed. From the earlier past to now, things have moved on. But it is quite interesting to note that despite all the advancements in infrastructural and physical world and technology and house sizes diminishing and roads increasing and things like that, despite that, the need for connection has remained constant. We may have over occupied ourselves in daily routines, chores, different lifestyles that seem to inhibit our abilities to connect with other people like we used to. We try to compare from small town to big town, but this need is inherent and it probably will remain like that. We accept it as a hindrance or we accept it as a advancement, but try to continue to find ways around it is up to us as mankind, I think. So I don't know the perfect solution to this, or I see this phenomena happening. I myself have seen it happening, having lived in small towns and big towns, metros and Silicon Valley and India towns and such. But this need to connect, when I look at the overall commonality living in all these towns and in these neighborhoods and friendships and relationships, that need to connect is always there. So there is no contradiction or something like that of my sort, but I just wanted to add this observation,
Right.
From my side, because I'm also doing research these days on Samya going into college, and he wants to go to big towns, and of course there is always a tendency in that age. When I was that age, it is there for upliftment, for recognition, for public acknowledgement and approval and such. So it's been on my mind, and it's in that context that I have been also thinking about that. So just wanted to add that.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah. So intergenerational things are also there in these situations. Yeah.
Right.
So somebody with the name of Megha Verma has also joined our group. Hello, Megha ji. I'm not able to place you from which group you are.
Hello, Ashok ji. I am from the English group.
Okay, okay. So,
Yeah.
yes.
Arey Megha.
Acha, now I remember. Sorry, Verma.
हाँ.
This Kumari Megha Verma na just put me somewhere else.
Oh, okay, okay. I think I've joined from a different ID. I'm really
That's
sorry.
okay, that's okay. No problem.
Yeah, yeah.
No problem, no problem.
Yeah.
You continue with this. The name, when we called you Megha, that's a different image you have.
Yeah,
Kumari
got
Megha
it, got it.
Verma,
Yeah.
it's a very different. Sorry. Forgot. Okay, good. Nice. Welcome you for joining for the first time in these meetings, right?
Yeah, yes. I was just busy with the shifting and all. I just joined my new job and I was just figuring out the house and everything.
Right.
So yeah, I could not join in the past few weeks.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd messaged that you would be joining a little later. Initial meetings.
Yeah, right.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So anybody else wants to say something?
No, I was just saying it would be nice for us all as a group to have a alumni meet of regularly somewhere, maybe in Palampur, just to connect. That would be really helpful, because the kind of sharing we do weekly
Ah,
will help us when we physically meet as well. Maybe in 6 months, or I think winter may not be conducive,
yes.
but just throwing it out there. Yeah.
Sure, sure. And venue can be anything. And one suggestion is Palampur, for which I think most of us will have to travel some distance. It could be more
Right.
central location also, right? So
Yeah, NCR could be another one. Yeah.
or we could also have it in some other, like I would love all of you to visit Bijnor also. That's also a
that's
nice
the
place.
center.
It's a center where everybody can come and stay and they can see that health center and all those things also.
Yeah, we can do that. That's a good idea.
Yeah, something like that also. More central.
Great, great.
Yeah. Any that we must think about. Right now that we don't need a alumni meet immediately. We just met this month only. So or last month.
It's
Yeah,
been 1 month.
yeah, 1 month. Okay. So yeah, but maybe later on. Okay. So then let's go to our presentation, right? And we were talking about the content. We have been doing that. Anna? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we were here in this slide last time. So universal well-being. We had talked about this in the workshop also, and last meeting also we had talked about this. Basically, preserving the continuity of order in humans and continuity of natural order, right? The word order has been added in both these because there is no continuity without orderliness. That one has to understand, right? Because orderliness is basically harmony or balance, which leads to stability, and that leads to continuity. Like if we took the example of our body, if all the organs are functioning in orderly manner, I mean, they're fulfilling their purposes, they're coordinating with each other, then the body continues. But if something is out of sync, then the body's continuity comes under question mark, right? So similarly, social order, family order, or the world order, and these are the orderliness at the level of humans, at the level of family, society, and the planet. Unless or until we become orderly in this, orderly basically means we become harmonious. We know our roles and we fulfill our roles. Human relationships are identified. We interact on basis of values. Then only this orderliness will be there. And that will ensure the continuity of order in humans and our responsibility towards the nature, how to utilize nature, how to live with nature. That will ensure the continuity of natural order. And this continuity is our goal, basically. That is our universal goal. This is what we are calling universal well-being. Right? And universal well-being includes personal well-being. So here the basic shift here we are talking about is, till now the humankind, whether they're individuals or some small group or a big group, we have always tried to look at our own well-beings without the context of the universal well-being or without the context of the larger group's well-being. This has been our problem. We have always thought, in Hindi there is a term which we call Geo or Jeene Do, right? So Geo basically means live and let live, right? So living has been the primary thing. And then let live. So actually we never pay attention to the let live part. We are always focused on living. How do I want to live? What do I want to live? Right? My happiness, my well-being. So it is always centered on yourself or your group. Whether, like when we think in terms of nations, then we think of the well-being of India. And this can be at the cost of well-being of other countries. Similarly, other countries also think like this. Well-being of China may not include well-being of India and other countries. Well-being of America might not include. So this thinking or this approach or this philosophy to life, where our own well-being is primary, is actually the cause for conflict. Even though the terminology sounds very nice, live and let live, it actually leads to conflict. This irony we need to see. The language sounds very coexistential, live and let live, jio or jeene do. But when you actually live this, when you actually enact this, when you implement this, manifest this, what happens is you become focused on yourself, and the well-being of others is not a concern. So you keep prioritizing your well-being, and your well-being cannot take place without the well-being of people around you. This can easily be understood by the fact that suppose you want to be happy. Suppose you are in a state, somehow you're in a state of happiness. And in your family, everybody else is sad. Can your happiness continue? Can you maintain your happiness? It is not possible. So this, or like your family is doing prosperous, but families around you are all deprived of means. Can that prosperity continue? Will you feel secure in such an environment? No. So basically, we have to work for a larger goal where we are more inclusive with everybody. Whatever we are receiving contributions for, wherever we are, we feel connected, and that's why we need the perspective, the complete perspective of that we are connected with the whole humankind and we are connected with all the nature. And you cannot leave aside humans or any part of the nature. So like we had done that exercise, right? What is the contribution that we are receiving when we are doing, say, having some meal or something? We saw that everybody is contributing. So we can't leave aside anyone. We can't leave aside politicians. We can't leave aside, say, doctors, teachers, lawyers, workers, farmers, right? Everybody is contributing into our lives, and everybody's life is interconnected like this. So when we think of solutions, when we think of doing things, they will always impact everybody else. So till the time we have this clarity of vision of human goal or universal well-being, and that reference, under that reference we work, then only can we ensure this continuity. Therefore, universal well-being includes personal well-being. This needs to be understood. Okay? Yeah. So anybody wants to say something on this? Ask something on this?
Bhaiya, looks, I mean, what in from Asian perspective, the well-being is in universal well-being.
But
But
your voice is breaking
in,
up.
can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Better.
No.
Hello.
Go on.
Now totally gone.
In
The sound is really breaking up. Hello. Shabbar bhai, there's total silence coming from your side now.
I'm so
No
curious.
sound. What?
Maybe you can type what you were saying.
Yeah.
Oh no,
He'll reconnect probably from another phone or something. Yeah. In the meantime, anybody else who wants to say something, add something, ask something? Krishna, you want to add something to this?
yeah, I was just thinking that another way you can look at it is that live and let live is a policy of tolerance.
Mm.
So the reference point is whatever you imagine your well-being to be. And in context of that, you see everyone else also. Then, of course, you don't want to harm them, but you are not really thinking about their well-being. You are thinking about your well-being, and as you are doing that, in that context, you also feel like, okay, we'll also let them be the way they have to be. Whereas if you change the focus to let live and live, then the reference point becomes all of our well-being together. That is the full reference point. And in context of that, I see my well-being. So here, both well-beings are taken care of, whereas in the first one, only one. Actually, we are not even able to take care of our own well-being when we look at it from the perspective of let live and live and let live.
So, Jeene do or Jio, that is the message from, it is also called the Udghosh or the proclamation of Jeevan Vidya. Let live and live. So basically, let live basically means universal well-being, being orderly, not doing actions which support each other. It's not about not doing harm to the others. There's a major shift. Not doing harm is a non-action actually. If you look at it, any not doing something, like for example, when we say do something, speak something, walk, run, these are actions actually. You can actually implement these. But suppose if you were said don't run, then what do you do then? That is not clear. You know what is not to be done, but what to do is not clear anymore. So any command or any language which starts with not never leads to an action. Therefore, there is a lack of clarity in that because you don't know what to do, right? And this is very important in education also because whether parent or a teacher, we are always we are used to this, habituated this to this of giving instruction of not doing certain things, right? So making it positive. So when this was in reference to Geo or Jeene do or live and let live. So, and the interpretation of that is not harming others. Let live basically means we will not disturb you, we will not interfere. We won't interfere. I'll keep on doing my own thing.
And you do it.
And you go do your thing. So there is hardly any interaction there. Most of interactions are basically to safeguard my interest and you are safeguarding your interest. So that becomes the basis of our relationships there. I am safeguarding my interest and you are safeguarding. So we are basically actually sparring. It could be a friendly sparring or it could be an aggressive sparring. This is the two models that we have right now.
No, the aspiration here is not to spar, it's to tolerate.
Sparring is simply to and fro, right? It is, okay, maybe a different word we could use.
Here, when they said live and let live, it's to tolerate. Okay, you do your, I'll do my thing, you do your own thing, and we won't interfere with one another.
Yeah, but the manifestation of this is basically I'm safeguarding my interest and you are safeguarding your interest. So this leads to an area of conflict without this being said, because there is no commitment to well-being of us together. So that understanding is needed. So this universal well-being includes personal well-being. That is the importance of this thing. This is the most critical point of this whole philosophy. So whenever we think of solutions, whenever we think of living, our perspectives have to be universal rather than very particular specific things, right? So that we keep checking that are we doing this in coordination with others, coordination with fellow human beings, coordination with nature. That's how we ended up here today, no? There is a lot of, so this is the next slide that we have after this. Basically, if you remember this, at the level of individuals, we have confusion. What we need is resolution. or clarity. At level of family, we have strife. What we need is prosperity. At the level of society, there is insecurity. What we need is mutual trust. At the level of nature, we are going towards imbalance. And what we need is harmony. Okay. So if you look at the left column, confusion, strife, insecurity towards imbalance, this is resulting from this live and let live on. Because you are not clear how to deal with the rest. You want to do your own thing. You think of something like, okay, I'll do this work. I'll live my life like this. Then you put in efforts to do this. This will never work unless until we have a perspective of how humans live, how we live with fellow human beings and how we live with nature. Both these perspectives, when we have, and then we decide what I have to do and how I have to do, then that is called clarity. It is the absence of these two perspectives that leads to confusion. So even though we are very sure of,
Bhaiya.
yes, Bhaiya. You're back finally.
Yeah, so although it looks सर्व शुभ में मेरा शुभ समाया हुआ है, means my well-being is part of the universal well-being. It looks, I mean, it intellectually sounds very obvious. The real question lies is that when your day-to-day prioritization has to happen, when you're living in a which you're trying to probably come to, it's a big confusion where how do you draw the line? Okay, oh, this is something, what this relationship demands, because all we are in a web of relationship, X, Y, Z, and all.
Yeah.
Now, where we say, oh, universal well-being, what should we do to a particular relationship? There are n number of things are there, n number of priorities are there. How do you decide that? Because at times the decision of Gio or Ginedo, it kind of live and let live. It kind of gives a framework. Okay, focus on yourself, your families, and all, and then go to the society. Now, in this, how that particular day-to-day execution will happen.
Right. So this is very simple, Bhaiya. Iske andar, what we have to remember is that principle of that every unit is a system in itself while participating in the larger system, right? So when we are thinking in terms of, say, I have to decide something as an individual. My issue right now, immediate issue is something to do with what I'll be personally doing. At that time, I have to keep in mind the context of my family. How is it going to impact my family? How is it going to impact my wife, my children, my parents, my siblings, right? So that context has to be brought in. Say the issue has got to do with the family. Then I have to look at the larger perspective of how is it going to impact the community. If the issue is about the community, how is it going to impact the larger society? So this is the basis of taking your decisions in day-to-day life, always bringing the perspective of the next level of organization, how it is going to impact that level. Like my individual choices might be okay for me, but will it be okay for my wife? Will it be okay for my children? Will it be okay for my parents? Will it be okay for my others? I mean, the impact of them going on to them. My choices will lead to certain actions which will have certain results. And these results, what would the impact of such results be on them? So keeping them in mind. Right? Drishta, you want to say something?
No, I feel like that is still more like live and let live. You're seeing that this is going to be the impact for me, and then I'm going towards seeing the impact on others.
Right.
But how I see it is, for instance, I have to decide, okay, what job do I take on? So that is a question in front of me. And then the first would be that, okay, these are my inclinations, my training, this is my whatever the time I have, or these are the opportunities I have, I'll do this accordingly. But the other question that one can ask is, okay, what is required on this planet, what is the work that is required in our country, what is the work that is required in my community, what is the work that is required to be done in my family, what is the work that is required to be done in that context, where can I place my abilities?
Right.
I think that is more in terms of decision making from the context of universal well-being.
Right.
Because of course, in that context, my personal affinities, my personal talents are also factoring in,
Yeah.
but they are in the context of the largest picture.
Right.
So actually, you're gradually zooming in rather than zooming out from starting from yourself. Or if,
Right.
if there's another example, you can think of Shabbar uncle, we can look at it from that angle also.
He's dropped out now. Shabbar bhai?
No, I mean, I can probably share examples. And I mean, I don't know whether in this audience whether it is okay to go into my examples, but or probably we can do it offline. But I find it tricky at times. Or at least probably I've not it is not settled in my mind all the way up to the universal well-being. Like, how do I connect it to the universal well-being? At times it is easier. At times it's a really not so easy way. Probably I find it quite conflicting.
Yeah.
Because if people around you, if
Shabbar-
people around you are also into that particular frame of mind, probably it's an easier thing. But anyways, we can probably some other time we can get into those details.
No, I don't. I mean, I think this is a good enough group. If you feel comfortable to share the example.
So let's. I mean, let me take a few examples. So. Let me see which example. Okay, yeah, this is a good example. Like, for example, I see some of the things like what, for example, I'm doing with respect to the earth construction. Has a kind of an impact on my learning, as well as its livelihood. It allows me to connect with various set of people. Also, it allows me to see that okay, the next generation has an possibility of livelihood without carrot and stick. I mean, that's how I'm seeing that particular connection and how it is aligning with the kind of I don't know whether we can say universal well-being, but yeah, I mean that's where I can kind of see that happening, because if the carrot and stick is not there, and if you can work in an independent way, and you don't need to as a child you don't need to mug up to just get the livelihood, and for livelihood you need to pass on so many competitive exams and all. It should be a simple enough thing to satisfy your basic needs, or whatever samanya akansha हम बोल रहे थे. Now this is where I'm seeing the work domain, but that work currently right now forces me to travel, for example, quite a lot. And what I see is that my travel, for example, it 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 brings quite a lot of anxiety. At Fatima's level, I see that a lot of anxiety is there, that I'm traveling so much. I mean, it has an impact on the health. It has an impact on so many things. And there are opinions, and these are, I would not say right or wrong. Now, how do you, and some of the things you have, like you have, I have my conditioning, and I don't know about her, but she would also have that conditioning.
Right.
So how do you see that now? Because that's where we are.
So I think maybe actually it's a very interesting example, because as soon as we decide to really think about this tenet that universal well-being includes personal well-being, and we start trying to look at situations from this perspective, the first thing we come to realize is that, oh, I don't really understand well-being. Neither do I understand a group's well-being, nor do I really understand my own well-being. For instance, maybe I have understood that this one aspect of living is necessary for one aspect of well-being in society. Say this is work, the work aspect. But clearly, as I'm living, I'm finding that this is not all, that there are other aspects of living that need to be in balance as well. And our attention is drawn to it actually when we look at the larger collective. If we were only living our own individual lives, our attention would not even have been drawn to that. But as soon as we start thinking about it from the context or from the angle of the group, whether that group right now is family, or even if you look at it as a collection of families that form a community, or a collection of communities that form the planet, if we were all focusing on having a very balanced and streamlined work life, that would still not be well-being for all of us. Because as you were already seeing, it is not sufficient to have a livelihood which is environmentally sustainable and pragmatic even at the social level. We need to balance our relationships, our behavior, the dimension of our relationships, the dimension of our own intellectual life, and our spiritual dimension as well. There are 4 dimensions of living, of which work is just one part. And this is true for all of humankind. So you cannot have a human society in which work, which is just one part of our living, takes up the majority of our time. So it actually, this perspective compels us to think about what is balance, what is well-being for human beings as in totality. And in that context, I will be able to then understand, okay, what is that well-being even for me as an individual who is running this organization? And then we can come to our conclusions on how to, go about establishing that balance or well-being in our life.
Krishna, what you said, I understand that okay, there are other dimensions apart from work. The challenge lies is that we need to start from where we are standing.
Yeah.
And the probably the conditioning of whatever n number of years, and it'll break down in a in a systematic way, or if at all it breaks. The challenge lies is that for example, just hypothetical, since we are taking this particular thing, and let's take this argument further. Assume for a minute I just say, oh, okay, this particular work is taking more time on my work dimension rather than, the attention span at the family dimension or the Vyavahar dimension is kind of, or the spiritual dimension is less. So let's leave this particular thing, or let's cut it down. Assume for a minute. We try to do it. Then you will get into the other side of the dimension, other side of the story, where you say, oh, okay, we are, born and brought up, the children are born and brought up in a particular way. And we don't want to cut down on those dimensions either way, or we don't want to stop those things abruptly. You're understanding the dilemma. I don't know whether I'm able to communicate or not.
No, I followed till where you said, okay, if I cut down the amount of time.
So if you cut down the time, then what happens is, okay, you have time. Now you, sooner or later, like for example, the foundation which you are building right now, as part, it looks like as a work dimension, but it's a foundation you're building. Like, you need to spend time with the children and whatever the children's growth. In some sense, if you really see the society or whatever, as soon as I can see the change in Alehia as soon as she started becoming, getting into the teenage, and when she's interacting with the other children, the competitiveness, the whole society is taking that, okay, oh, you will be respected if you clear some of the competitive exams and all. Now, again, this is something which probably we should have done it 14 years earlier, if 15 years earlier, if you would have been groomed in a different way, then things would have been different. But now where she is like, okay, she's saying, okay, I need to give NEET now because I feel like, okay, this is so, and to do that, then again, oh, if you do NEET and then you don't get selected, what exactly is the path you're going to take? Because the society is forcing you to move in certain direction. I mean, the force of materialism is way too high. And for example, for me, it is very easy after working for 18 odd years in the corporate world. But it is for them, I mean, for the children, it's like, okay, oh no, my friend is doing this or whatever is doing this, I would like to do it. And in case after 18 or 20, if they, I mean, where the competitiveness or where the world is heading towards, they will feel there is a possibility that they will feel dejected. And then they don't have I mean, if you don't have an option that time, a good enough option, then you will be we will be trying to dig a well when there is a fire. I mean, I'm just trying to draw an analogy here.
So you're saying you have to spend
or to support them, for example, or to support them. Okay, if you don't get into the NEET, or there is, I mean, you know, all the NEET thing, there is a payment seat. Okay, you go and get that particular thing done. So the whole thing is, what I'm trying to say is that there is a state where we are in. Now, how do you make choices from your current state? And I mean, that's where I'm facing a little bit of challenge right now.
So how
in an ideal world, what is being said here is perfect. I mean, I don't have a doubt about it.
Right. So how I'm understanding what you're saying is that if you were to cut down on the time you spend on this livelihood thing just now, then 10 years down the line, with your children, they will not have the opportunity that you're trying to build for them, the groundwork you're laying for them. And so it will
not our children, not just Alithia and Abizar, but it's for everybody. I mean, I'm not saying that they might choose or they might not choose. There are some other kids who might choose. It doesn't matter. Somebody has to, like, somebody is putting a mango tree, they might not probably bear the fruits, but somebody has to do it.
Right. But what are we doing is, I think, what I'm drawing attention to is this like when our friends and family, we were thinking of opening a university and, to try to teach the kids who would come, give them an alternate education so that instead of going into the mainstream, they could work towards educating themselves and becoming resolved and prosperous human beings instead. But what are we going to teach them when we are not resolved and we are not prosperous? In the sense, we might create a very good organization that is very productive and is able to produce a lot of resources for the people involved and for the people they're serving. But is this a sustainable livelihood? It will never be a sustainable livelihood if it is not able to balance relationships as it is going along. Because unless you are able to do it, it will drain, as you're saying yourself, it is draining away from your health and your mental well-being also, because of the anxiety it is causing in your family, in your relationships, and in yourself. And that will be true for anyone who joins it. And that is why we are very creative. I don't think you have to cut down completely and kind of drop this project in any way, but there can be a balance that can be identified between building this and dedicating or devoting time for your relationships. And maybe then it can be integrated also. I think what I have seen in myself, in my family, and in all the children around me, all children are very, very willing to accept or to actually derive inspiration from the people that they feel connected to, especially from the older people that we feel connected to and we feel who are willing to engage with us and see us and really, talk to us and who we can be ourselves with. Those are the adults that we find inspiring and who we would like to learn from and join in whatever they are doing. And right now, we don't really find models for that. So then what option do children have? Then children will naturally go for the models that are set up in the mainstream. So no matter how robust an alternate model is, unless it is inspiring at a personal level, it will not be replicable. over a long term. And that is what you see, in fact, in most alternate circles, actually. Even in the JV circle, I've found the parents can be doing some very quote unquote good work in society, but because their relationships with their children is lacking in that depth. Even in our family, it has happened. The children don't feel like joining into that, and so the work in quote unquote society is happening, and so people from society may join and interact for a while and then leave again. But that depth of relationship that can only be had within the family is being missed out. And so anyone who joins is also not reaching that depth, because that depth doesn't exist only. So that is never sustainable, that is not replicable, that is not capable of forming any continuity. So that if that is our aim, then we need to take a good look at what is missing. Not to say that building this foundation of good livelihood is not a good direction to be moving towards, but it is, because it is incomplete on its own, it will not work out. It will not be sustainable.
I'll just add a little bit on this. See, whenever we come up with such dilemmas, and we keep coming up with such dilemmas, what I've discovered is that in my way of thinking, there is some assumption I'm having, which I'm not questioning. Actually, it's incomplete because there is a fundamental assumption which I'm taking for given. And I'm not questioning that. That might be the case there. For example, the fact that children might need to study well and want to give some exam to qualify for some career, something like that. The problem doesn't lie there. Problem lies in how we view all these things. The problem is that, are we looking at education for knowledge or education for occupation first? So first, that distinction needs to be clear. The whole thing about respect comes from knowledge. If you have knowledge and you have evidence in your living, that is what will be respected in society, whatever circumstances. So that one point has to be very clear. So the inspiring children to become knowledgeable and having evidence in their living is a very good thing. So whatever they're studying, they can become knowledgeable in that. So it is not, see, right now the motivation comes from doing better than the others in some sort of an exam or something. Whereas here we are talking about excelling in something. Because you're motivated to learn this and you are excelling, and therefore your excellence is in the terms of knowledge and how you can contribute in the society. Therefore, the evidence comes from your contribution in the society, in family, in society, in community, like that. So that one fundamental area, what is education for? Understanding that. Do I understand it? Does the younger generation understand it? We have to work on that. So that is one area I feel is very important. Second part is, like, whatever the situation, given circumstances, we can't deny those. The problem with the present circumstances, the first go-to thing is that there is some injustice which is taking place. That's why we are having this problem. So the injustice is basically in our relationships. There might be some imposition which might be taking place which we are not aware of. And this is causing us conflict. Are we aware of it or not? That is the main thing which one has to check. The problem is not in the actions. That the main point I'm trying to make here is that it is not the action what you're doing right now. It is the perspective with which the action is being done. And the other person has also got the perspective and then the action. So the differences are in the perspectives. So there needs to be work to align the perspectives, align the thoughts and the feelings behind these actions. That is not taking place. And for that, you don't have to challenge the circumstances or do anything very drastic or anything. It's just fine-tuning of our way of living with each other. I mean, I'm not saying it is easy work. It requires a lot of effort. It requires a lot of commitment because we are not used to it. We are not habituated to this. So we keep drifting away from that part because we have been conditioned to look at the actions in a particular way. Whereas this alignment of our feelings and thought is not taking place. We are not used to it. We have not thought about it. We are not committed to aligning these things. That is our main problem area. So whether you're doing the enterprise, whether the children are going for education, it is what are the perspectives we are taking? And how can we mature our perspectives? How can we help others mature their perspectives? How can these perspectives become more holistic? That is the area to work. In that sense, I feel issues are not there in the circumstances don't bring in any major problems as such. Because nobody is saying that, see, the problem comes when we start taking very idealistic views of these. Either it has to be this or there is no way out. Then there is a problem. But the issue is not that. If we have our goal in front of us, like we want to have a good livelihood, we want to have non-exploitative livelihood. Now that is the goal. How do we move towards it step by step? That is what we have to think about together. Is this goal acceptable to the next generation or not? Have they understood the value of it? If they're not, then how do we inspire them to learn this? That is more of an area to work. This cannot be addressed by any action as such of making an enterprise or doing the enterprise in different ways. It is about learning and education. It is about raising awareness. The issues are in the raising of awareness rather than action. The actions will follow. They are important. But primarily, it is the issue of awareness. If we focus there. Chapar bhai.
Can I also add something?
Yeah, sure.
Shabda uncle, is it all right if I add something?
Yeah, please go ahead, please go ahead.
I mean, I think the inspiration wala point here I find to be quite key, because if I were to speak from my own experience from that age, I think this thing about that, that this entrance exam that Alika might want to give, or any student for that matter, or at that time, whatever I wanted to study or whatever I wanted to do in my life, the means of it weren't as important in retrospect. The means of how would I end up doing it, how wasn't as important as mm, like the support that I needed, and the clarity that I wanted about why I was going to be doing it. And by support, I mean, I feel family, parents, teachers, and all, they play a big role in this fact of inspiration. Ki what you want to do, you will figure out the means to do it. But the reason, when you know the why, then the means kind of resolve themselves. You can sort of make decisions more confidently. But I think I find that the biggest barrier for that is that when you don't really feel a true sense of support, because I feel like the relationship is weak, or it's not where you would have hoped for it to be. And as a child, you don't really have much clarity. You don't necessarily have too much clarity of what it should be. It's a feeling of support or no, or lack of support. पर इस scenario में मेरे को the biggest thing that I feel that I wanted as at that age was inspiration in terms of, okay, why should I be choosing this, or why should I not be choosing this, or I have these conflicting desires of wanting to do the right thing, but also wanting to explore things that might need more means than I have. How do I make this decision? How do I navigate this? At that time, I also feel that, say my parents had prioritized only in collecting means for me to do this, either they be contacts or resources or anything like that, वो भी incomplete पड़ता. और अगर सिर्फ क्या कहते हैं, सिर्फ there had been clarity and no means at all, that would have also been a little bit incomplete. But I feel that the clarity ended up being a little bit more useful because I figured out that helped me figure out the means later. So the relationship in that sense for me is, and not just parents, I think family, cousins, friends, all of those relationships end up making you more confident in your clarity, as well as of course understanding को prioritize whether or not you are creating an enterprise or अभी के लिए तो mean life living doesn't stop, but if we don't prioritize understanding, then I feel like it'll remain incomplete. I'm not sure how well I'm able to articulate it, but I feel ki living doesn't stop. It's not action versus understanding. Action will always keep happening, but while doing the actions doing the work that we have to do for regular functioning of families and living and everything, if understanding is not prioritized, and I think for understanding, being very invested in relationships is a prerequisite in my understanding of this. It will fall short, but that doesn't mean living doesn't stop. Baba only says this. I think Drishta and I were having this conversation with somebody else only recently. I think Drishta and I were talking that काम तो करना ही है. You have to work. Means of working will be might not be aligned with the eventual coexistential system initially, but कीचड़ से निकलने से पहले कीचड़ में ही पहला पैर रखना होता है, ऐसा मेरा सोचना है. So I agree with that. So I think, yeah.
Shabar bhai?
No, it gives me some more thoughts to churn in. Probably I cannot say anything right now, but would definitely probably share next week what the observation you folks, I mean, all of you shared. Thank you for it. Let me just think about it. Yeah.
Anybody else who wants to add to this conversation or give some perspective? Any comment?
So, yes, sir, I wanted to.
Yes,
So
yeah.
it was very interesting, Shabba bhai. So I'm still I think in Alicia's position only after selecting a career, and my thoughts are not very clear. It's little muddled. I'm sorry for that, but whatever I can say about that is, when I was a teen and I was interested in science it used to give me a sense of joy and wonder. And my father would bring me things like, जैसे magnets लाके देते थे, prisms and all. And I would ask my father all these questions. So he was there to look up to, but as I grew, and nobody in our family was like, like, I know of कि जिन्होंने competitive exam clear किया हो, though they were engineer in the family and ऐसे. So, but that kind of aspiration, the way today's children face, I was not having that in my teen, especially and my father was very nurturing. But when I got into medical college and it was very different, it didn't match to my values, and still I'm fighting for that. And I'm just saying the way you said the Veda said understanding is needed. And also I see my brother also, like he doesn't match to the expectations of. We have two people who have cleared IIT in our family, and the way family have praised them, they both have gone abroad, and the way their real brothers will be looked down, or the siblings would be not looked down, but compared, or not looked down, but compared, and the siblings. Hello?
Yeah, go on.
So they will be, they feel lacking in some majorly lacking in their abilities. Still, the brother of that particular cousin of mine, younger brother, is not able to settle down because the kind of praise, the kind of appreciation the elder one got. So I totally agree. The way we take it. And he's very much lacking in social skills, the person who got into IIT and all that. And the second brother is so good in social skills, but no, it's not being appreciated. Very late. Now they are struggling. The parents are struggling. So I'm just saying ki we also need, like, they don't, like, as a kid, if I say, I looked up to my father. My father is still there to hand, like, to, if they say I have taken a decision to uh, now I work independently. I'm a very, very offbeat kind of a doctor in the society. मतलब मतलब थोड़ा सनकी कहते हैं सब, और but I now, because maybe my at least my father understands me, and now some people in my extended family, my chacha, understand me. So understanding and also living up to the values also, then you find people outside your blood relations also, like maybe, like, I have found people outside that also in Jeevan Vidya also. So kids are looking for, they're questioning, and they have their inner choices, their inner aptitudes also. They want to match that joy of their aptitude, in which they feel interested in, they find wonder in, and also to have a little bit of validation initially from world, and firstly initially from the closed ones, firstly from the parents. So it helped me. My father was always like there. Initially, he never criticized me. There was a phase my father was also not very happy the choices I made to move into rural areas and all that. But eventually, he understood 1 or 2 years back. So I think that I will just add on key, like, just putting on blindly something has been achieved by, and every children has a different aptitude. Going to IIT is not bad. Not going to IIT is also not bad. We are different people with different aptitudes, and so we need to respect that. And yes, we have questions and confusions how this world functions. We are not very clear at younger age, so we need to address those questions and answer those things. But I think my father did it very beautifully, so I'm very thankful to him. So uh, I think maybe Alicia, like, might be having a lot of questions. He's questioning, not looking up to them. So I'm also right now figuring it out, how does the medicine function? What is the world of medicine? Still, I'm figuring it out. So that's how it is. So
Okay. Nice. So one thing I've realized very late in my journey, and this is that we have this habit of looking, at least I had this habit of, I still have it to a certain extent, of habit of looking at things from my perspective, and then thinking that the other person will also have the same perspective. I mean, this is a mistake I keep making all the time. I mean, I have to be very alert about it and also cautious about it. The other person has a perspective. They have a way of looking at things, which is not same as mine. So first of all, what is that perspective? And second point is that the situations which are there, I mean, my family situation, I'm the best judge of what is feasible here and what is not. So therefore, whenever somebody seeks advice from me, I always say, look, the answers you'll come up with, I can just talk about principles which will govern such situations. So no specifics, just general principles. So the point is that we have to look at the basic principles which govern that situation. That connection we need to be able to make. If we are able to find to whatever extent, then we are able to see this, at least I've been able to relate to this universal well-being includes personal well-being. In my situations, whenever I've been able to use those principles, then I can see this. Whenever I'm not able to relate to the principles in those situations, then I do have this doubt of how will it happen, what I have to do, all those things stuff. So now my default setting is this, or this is what I'm conditioning myself to is, the moment there is a doubt, I go, what is the principle I'm missing in the situation? What am I not aware of? So probably that could also be one of the things. But I respect.
This is a good point.
Yeah. But I respect your point of, because you have a perspective too, and you have the better understanding of your situation than any one of us. So you will be the one who will come up with the solution. But we can share from our perspectives the principles which might be relevant there. You have to decide on that.
No, this is a very good point which you brought in, because whenever in a circumstance, I mean, I am able to relate to a principle. I'm at peace, and when I'm not able to correlate with any principle, I'm at loss. And one of the things I wanted in probably I was thinking I'll bring this up in our morning sessions, and this is like for light quite some time I'm waiting for it. Is it being talked about the steps, like, or crumb, like what are the I mean it's like not that enlightenment is a 1 or 0 step or whatever, Samaj is a 1-0 step.
Right.
So what exactly is a crumb? It's needed. I mean, I think that's where I feel I have lack of understanding there, that what exactly is a crumb and how that, because that will help me also. And when I'm looking at somebody and I'm doing evaluation, if I know, okay, I mean, as per my evaluation, this is where the other person is. So next step is this. So I know how to probably operate. In the absence of that understanding of crumb, I go and either try to do my behavior or my actions goes out of bound, and where the definition of nyaya we had we discussed about like expecting more from a person than what he's capable of is anyaya, and you keep on doing that.
Right.
But thanks, Gargi, also for sharing. This is like, it helps all this conversation.
Yeah. And our time is more or less complete for today. So before we end, 2-3 things. First of all, anybody else who wants to say something in this conversation before we end this conversation?
So, sir, I just want to request I don't know whether it is good to say or not, but I really want my conversation tomorrow to happen in a peaceful way so that my sir and madam understands what I'm going through. If there is something called, I believe in prayer, so
right.
So if
it will definitely happen. I wish you all the best of luck for that. Just keep in mind, you please don't try to convince them. Just share your perspective. If you are able to maintain that distinction, which basically means respect their perspectives also, but say that my perspective is this, and therefore I want to do this. I want to approach it like this. That will avoid the conflicts. The conflict comes when we are not able to respect the other person's perspectives on the same.
Yes, that's very helpful, sir. Today's conversation, this is the biggest take point. I think we just get overwhelmed by our own perspective that we stop looking at others' perspective. I will keep this in mind. Thank you.
And the biggest evidence that we are doing this is we are trying to convince the other.
Yes.
So sharing is important. You should never ignore sharing, but don't try to convince.
Okay, sir. Okay. That's helpful.
Yeah.
All the very best, Gargi. All the very best.
Thank you. Thank you, bye-bye. Thank you.
For those of you who are wondering what is happening is, Gargi initially, the meeting started, shared that she's been working with an organization, and the organization she really likes and respects, but now she wants to deal with it or work in a different mode, in which she is more of an independent worker who contributes from outside to this organization. So tomorrow she's going to propose this to her organization and the leaders of that organization. So she's hoping it goes well.
Good luck.
Thank you, sir, for putting it.
All the best.
Good luck.
It will be
Wish you
good.
good luck.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it means a lot. All your wishes, yes, it really means a lot.
Good. Okay, so 2 things. One thing is, another important thing is, and those of you who might listen to this recording, it's for you also, that this morning meeting that we do with Shabar Bhai and his group in the morning from 6 to 7. We had a discussion amongst ourselves, and we are, we would like others also who are keen on joining this meeting. You are most welcome to join it. We've not been having it for the last 3-4 days because I was traveling, but Wednesday morning onwards, probably we'll be starting again. Okay. So anyone interested, just message me or Shabar Bhai, and we can share the connections with you, and in case you feel like doing so. Morning 6 to 7. Very short, but very important. It has been so useful for me. I mean, I don't know how useful it has been for the Shabar Bhai and team, but I'm sure it must be some use, must be there because we all are continuing. So, but it has been really useful for me, these meetings. Yeah.
When it is for, I keep on waiting for that meeting. So it's super useful.
Yeah. So anybody who wants to join in is most welcome. Okay. Okay, then we'll end today's meeting. Prashant Bhai, you want to say something?
Just that, I think the discussion that we are having, quick thing I wanted to add was, I think this darshan is for personal, growth and understanding, like becoming self-aware. And that's how I see, I'm trying to understand, my Jeevan is trying to understand the different perspectives. The same way the other person is also the Jeevan and the Sharir. They're trying to understand, and everyone wants to work together in a direction where it becomes we stay in harmony, I think. And just that the understanding part is little different, so the behavior is a bit different, but so it's working towards a common goal, knowingly or unknowingly. That's how I understand. That's all we get. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, then we'll end for today here, and we'll meet again next. I think we are doing it weekly right now, but if it becomes, and there are some people who are attending, so we'll continue this on next Sunday also. So see you guys, whoever is available on next Sunday. Bye for now.
Sure.
Thank you, Bhaiya. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
It's a big
Have a
help
good
to
week.
all of us.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.